Thank you again for joining us this evening for Taking Control in Uncertain Times, a COVID-19 fraud prevention webinar. I'm your host, Ian Hughes from St. Mary's Bank's Marketing Department, and I'll be monitoring the Q&A for any questions you may have. In fact, if you do have questions, please enter them in the panel and send them to all panelists. That way I'll be able to get them. I'll collect the questions, and by the end of the presentation, which should last about 30 minutes, we'll have time to address anything that comes up along the way. I hope you were able to download a copy of today's presentation as you were joining us. If not, we can make that available to you too. We're also recording this evening's presentation, so we will get that up on stmarysbank.com as early as next week. So let me introduce today's expert and panelist, Shirley Bhutto. Shirley is the Director of Enterprise Risk Management and Compliance at St. Mary's Bank. She's a certified fraud examiner, certified information security manager, and certified anti-money laundering specialist. She's the St. Mary's Bank board-approved information security officer and has been with St. Mary's Bank for 23 years, focused on member and corporate privacy, security, and fraud prevention. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Shirley.
Thank you, Ian. So today's presentation is Taking Control in Uncertain Times, and definitely is uncertain times with everything going on in the world with COVID-19. But just wanted to make sure that you are aware you do have some control in the scams that are going on and how to prevent them and how to not become a victim. So what we'll be talking about today is educating yourself about the scams. So we'll go over some of the scams that we've been seeing and the scams that we've been hearing about, understanding how they happen, why they happen, and again, know the controls that you have for prevention, because in a lot of respects, you are the first line of defense, and you do have the first bit of control in making sure that these scams don't happen or that you don't become a victim of them. So some of the scams that we're seeing that are specifically COVID related, so there's government loans and grants to help with bills. And a lot of these scams are coming through text, email, or phone calls. There may actually be true government loans and grants to help, but they are not going to, the government does not communicate and offer these loans and grants through email and text and phone calls. Typically, it's that you would be reaching out to that government agency or possibly a financial institution that is working with these grants, but the government would not be reaching out to you for these. The IRS stimulus emails and texts. So many of us have gotten our IRS stimulus money, but there are emails and texts going around stating maybe there's more money, or maybe there was an additional deposit that couldn't be made, and please click on this link, which could have malware, could be trying to get your private information. So it may ask you to click on a link. It may say that you need to pay some money in order to get these funds. The IRS, again, does not email or text. The government uses snail mail, and that's how they'll communicate with you. Or again, it could be through your financial institution that notifies you and lets you know that a transaction has rejected. Fake PPP loans. So these are the payment protection programs. So these are the loans that you may have seen in the news recently, where the small businesses are able to get some forgivable money, forgivable loans to help pay for their payroll, their utilities, their rent. So these are legitimate loans, but these loans are to be obtained through a financial institution that is partnering with the Small Business Administration. And there could be emails coming back from the financial institution to say, you know, we have your loan approved, or there's more information that may be needed, or we may just be following up and providing information about the forgiveness. But those emails that we would send out, there would be something specific to you. When these phishing emails, as they're called, go out, in most cases, they're just a blast email that goes out, and there's nothing specific to the person. When we send out emails with a link, or we want you to do something with that email, there is information in there. There's like the last four of your card, or in this case, it could be an application ID, or in all of our emails, that marketing emails that we send out, it has a security code that right on the bottom, and it tells you what it is, and making sure that it really did come from St. Mary's Bank. Cures, vaccines, test kits. In these cases, a lot of these texts and emails are not necessarily to get information from you or to have you click on a link that could have malware. In a lot of cases, this is just, they just want to get your money. They just want to try to sell you something that really isn't going to do what it says it's going to do. There are no cures and vaccines, and really you should be getting your information from cdc.gov. FTC actually this morning on the news sent a lot of warning letters to companies and to doctors who were claiming to have cures, claiming to be able to shorten the time frame or the severity of the virus, and that there is nothing out there right now that at least is on the market. Mandatory testing. There is no mandatory testing in the United States. The only testing that it certainly can go out and get testing at local diagnostic centers or obviously through your doctor's office, but there's no mandatory testing. And as far as getting an email or a text saying that you may have been exposed or you've had a positive exposure, again, some of these texts or emails they want you to click on a link or they want you to provide information so that they can say, oh, well, let me make sure that, is it really you that was exposed? Give me your social, give me your information. We do have contact tracing here in New Hampshire as well as in some of the surrounding states. And what that means is if someone truly has been diagnosed with COVID-19, the contact tracers are then finding out, well, who else has this person been around? Who have they been around for an extended amount of time or in close contact? And yes, they will reach out to those additional people. They'll get the names and phone numbers from the person who's been diagnosed. And they will reach out to say, hey, you might have been exposed, but more to monitor your symptoms, to maybe tell you that you might need to go to the doctors if you are having symptoms, or to just quarantine for 14 days. But they're not going to ask for money and they're not going to ask for information. Charity requests. So there's a lot of people that need help right now. There's people who are out of work or who have less work. People are struggling to pay their bills or to put food on the table, and we all want to, do the right thing and all want to help for those that can help. But just be careful of the charity requests because, again, the fraudsters are jumping on this as well. So just make sure that you check out those charities. Don't click on links. Don't be brought to sites where it's asking for your information. And we'll give a little more information on how to check out charities later. Another is packages being held due to lockdown. So a lot of people are ordering their food online and having it delivered, or they're just getting packages, or they just don't want to go out and go shopping. So things are being sent to them. So there's a lot of fake emails and texts going out saying, hey, we've held your package. And of course, they're hoping, well, you probably have a package because you're probably one of the people that has ordered something. And it's either to, again, click on a link to install malware, gain information, or possibly just asking for money to say, well, we can release this package, but we're going to need to do some special cleaning and it's going to cost X amount of dollars. So again, that is not legitimate emails or texts coming out. Some of the other scams that we are seeing, online jobs. So we do have a lot of people out there looking for jobs. Looking for ways to make money, and the fraudsters are going to those same legitimate websites and posting fraudulent jobs. Some of the jobs are to they'll ask to be providing their account information or your online banking information, or to accept wires or checks being deposited into your account. There is no legitimate job out there that should be asking for your online banking account information or to ask you to accept funds into your account, whether it's wires, whether it's ACH credits, whether it's checks being deposited, in order to then move the money to someone else. They may say, oh, well, it's for a bookkeeping job and we need to help negotiate funds, or maybe it's to help someone with their unemployment benefits. Again, any job basically where you've got to allow money to go into your account and then to send it to someone else, it's definitely 100% scam. Never seen it otherwise. Some ways that they're asking for payments to be made is, once you get these funds, is either to Western Union, MoneyGram, or use gift cards. Some other texts and emails noting that maybe your account information or your personal information is compromised. And they may try to prove that there's a compromise by putting a password in the email saying, oh, your information has been compromised, and as proof, here's your Betty Boop password that maybe you use. There's so many scams or so many breaches that have happened over the years that your password likely got caught in one of those breaches, and maybe it's an old password, maybe it's a password that you've reused, but having a password in an email does not prove that they know anything. So do not get scared by that. Other text and emails could be that sextortion, which is basically extortion having to do with sex. Maybe they say that, well, we've seen something going on your laptop or your PC. We've seen you going to naughty websites. It could be, well, we think that you've got a virus on your PC, and so let us have access. Or click on this link and we'll clean it, or pay us money and we won't tell anybody about those sites that you've been to, or pay us money and we'll clean up your PC. Again, the Microsoft and the government do not have any way of knowing if you have a virus on your PC, if your PC or your phone or anything is compromised in any way. And honestly, they've got more important things to do than worry about if your PC or laptop has a problem. So they are not going to contact you and help you clean it or help you fix it or ask for money so that they don't charge you with a crime. If you've really done something, people are going to show up at your door. They're not going to send you a text or an email. So how are these things happening? For the most part, it is text, emails, and calls. So the text or emails will typically have a link. Sometimes they do attachments, although not as many attachments, but sometimes there'll be an attachment. They'll ask you to open it up and click whatever is inside the attachment in order to bring you to a website or install malware. But again, most of it is a link, and it's either going to install malware that may capture your information. So the next time that you log on to your online banking, it watches, and as soon as it sees that you've gone to anybank.com, it then watches to see whatever your username and password is, and it'll capture that, and then they'll try to obviously misuse it. Or it could be malware that they just want to take over your PC or laptop, your device, in order to use it for future fraud with other campaigns. Some of these will be, again, to request or capture logon. So it might be a link that brings you to a website that you think is a legitimate website. Maybe you got an email from Amazon saying that your card information is expired, or there's a problem with one of your packages, and click here. But really, instead of bringing you to Amazon.com, maybe it brings you to Amazon with an E at the end. So it looks very close to the legitimate sites. And again, it could be to capture your Amazon login, your username and password, or it could be enter your social, enter your date of birth, enter your information in order to perform identity theft at a later time. The phone calls, as well as the texts and the emails, typically are going to have some sense of urgency, like you've got to act right away. If you don't, you're going to lose money. If you don't, something horrible is going to happen. And the calls may scare you, or the text may even be saying that you have been a victim of fraud. Now, we will, as with other banks and credit unions, we may actually call you and let you know that, hey, we think that there's a transaction that may be fraud, that maybe you didn't initiate. But all we're going to do is say, this is the transaction, this is the date, this is the amount, did you do this? We're not going to ask you for your card information. We're not going to ask you for the 3 numbers that are on the back of your card. We're not going to ask you for any kind of password or anything else because we've already got that information. We're calling you. But the fraudster may ask for that information. So the fraudster is trying to get that information, and they'll scare you so that you're not thinking clearly, or you think you've got to react right away and you give up that information. In some cases, they're asking for a password or a phone code. We encourage everyone to put a verbal password on your account. That is so that when you call us, we know it's you. Again, because there's so much of private information out there, your name, your social, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name, I say, assume that it's already out there in the world and that fraudsters can get to it. So we want to make sure that we're actually talking to you. So when you call us, if you've got an actual password, we then don't have to ask for your social or your mother's maiden name. We will ask for that password that you have only shared with us, that isn't out on the credit bureau, that isn't out in the world. So that way we know it's you. But we would never call you and ask for that password. A phone code also is a way where what we've seen the fraudsters doing is they will call and say, hey, Mr. Smith, we see that you've had fraud on your account. We need to verify that it's you. We're going to send you a code. Can you make sure give us that whatever shows up on your phone, whatever code number that is. What they're actually doing is they may have already in some ways social engineered you or gotten some information so that they may be attempting to log on to your online banking, or they may be attempting to log on to your card or account information. And so when you try to reset a password, so if you as the real person try to actually reset a password, you click the forgot password and it may send you a code to your phone so that you can log on using that code to say, yep, it really is me, and yes, I'm really resetting my password. Well, the fraudsters know this. So what they'll do is they're doing two frauds at the same time. They're calling you stating, oh, you've been a victim of fraud and we need to confirm information. And they'll either try to get the log on information from you, or they will just try to reset your online banking or whatever account it is, and that code may trigger over to you and they'll ask you for it. So I guess the end result of this is never provide a password or a texted phone code or an emailed code if the person calls you. The only time that you should ever have to provide a password or a phone code or an email code is if you have called and initiated and called your bank or called your credit card company yourself. The other scams that we're seeing, online banking scams are definitely increasing. We're seeing a lot of members giving out their online banking credentials. In some cases, they've applied for a loan and the fraudster says, well, this is how the funds will be deposited to you so that you can get them immediately and you don't have to wait. Give us your online banking credentials and we'll deposit it right for you. It could be, hey, we're going to get you a job where you're going to receive checks or you're going to receive money. And again, just give us the online banking credentials and the money will go in, and then we will send you instructions on disbursement. So this is if you've had the fake antivirus. So let's say that you've paid some money for the fake antivirus where they say, oh, yeah, your PC or your laptop's definitely compromised, pay us $299, and then you finally realize that, hey, this is a scam. They say, oh, don't worry, we'll get you your money back. Just give us your online banking credentials and we'll get you your money that way. Some of the other scams is that, it could be helping someone out. And these tend to go on for months at a time, where they will build up trust and then they'll say, hey, if I could just get you some money, you can help me out and I can come over and we can live happily ever after. So get your online banking credentials and get the funds that way. In all of these cases, no legitimate company, no person should ever be asking for your online banking credentials. So the end of this is never give out your online banking credentials to anyone who is not a joint owner or a signer on your account. In some cases, people may think, well, I've got nothing to lose. I've got no money in my account. I got $5 in my account. Who cares? Maybe this really will work out. Maybe this really is a job and I'll make some money. Well, you do actually have something to lose, because what the fraudsters will do is they will use your online banking credentials. They will deposit a counterfeit check into your account, or they will move money from some other poor victim and move the funds into your account. And then by the time you move it out, you're now liable for those funds. So if a counterfeit check gets deposited for, let's say, $4,000, and they ask you to move $3,000 of it out to somewhere else, and you do that, and that check comes bouncing back, guess what? You're out $3,000. So you absolutely, even if you have no money, you absolutely can be in a much worse situation by giving out your online banking credentials. Counterfeit check scams. We continue to see counterfeit checks here at St. Mary's Bank. Pretty much every week we get counterfeit checks. Again, it could be for job offers where just negotiate these checks for us as a bookkeeper. Maybe you're helping a company overseas or you're helping a friend overseas. The lotteries, those are still out there, still getting a lot of lottery checks. Again, you know, if you haven't applied for a lottery and it's not a local lottery, you probably didn't win anything. And in most of these cases, they state that they are maybe Canadian or the UK lottery or some other non-US, and just advertising it, just getting that in the mail to you is illegal. And in the lottery cases, it's typically you've won maybe $5 million, but here's a check for $4,500 to help prepay some of the fees and the taxes. Again, if you've won a lottery, they will just deduct all those fees from you. And I guarantee they're not going to tell you to keep it secret. They're going to want to have a TV camera and everybody showing up saying, look at these, you know, look at this person winning all this money, so that they can encourage more people to play the lottery if it truly was legit. And then also there's the remember me from third grade, from high school. So these tend to go on for a little bit, quite a few months. So it could be that the fraudster has gotten all kinds of information about this other person, you know, maybe Sally Sue from third grade, and they get all kinds of information where they convince you that that really is Sally Sue, but geez, maybe Sally Sue fell on some hard times and needs a little help. And again, we all just want to help and we want to be generous. But unfortunately, it's either they're going to ask for money or they're going to ask to have you negotiate funds through your account, which again is just always a scam. So again, the instructions are typically deposit the money and send the money somehow, whether it's Western Union, MoneyGram. In some cases, we've actually seen people have been instructed to actually withdraw the cash and actually mail the cash in a FedEx envelope. The latest, though, has been buying gift cards and then scratching off the back and actually providing the codes either by phone or sending pictures of the codes so that then the fraudsters can just cash out the gift cards. So why is there such an increase in scams? Well, they're taking advantage of our vulnerability right now. They know that we're a little bit scared. Everything's a little uncertain, and they're hoping that you're not paying attention. That they can convince you that there's horrible things happening in the world, and they can help you. And there are a lot more people that are online right now. A lot more people are at home. So again, the fraudsters are taking full advantage of you just being available. And it's really worth it. The FTC reported, as you can see, over 18,000 reports of COVID scams and already over 13 million. And this is over a month ago. So I'm quite sure those losses are much higher now. And I just recently saw that there are 18 million phishing scams. So that's where emails are being sent out that look like they're coming from a legitimate place, but they're really not. So 18 million phishing scams specific to COVID-19, and 4,300 websites have been set up just in the last few weeks that are specific to COVID-19. And it's pennies on the dollar for them. It's easy for them to set up websites. It's easy for them to blast out hundreds of thousands of emails. And even with identity theft, just buying your information, a full name, social date of birth, all of that is going for pennies. Last I checked, it was about 7 cents to buy that kind of information out there. So I always say, just assume your information is compromised and go from there. So what can you do? You want to make sure that your email is secure. And I have on here strong passwords, but really it should be a strong passphrase. Your email tends to be where everything gets reset from. So if you forgot your password, it might be going to your email. You may be getting alerts to your email. So you want to make sure that your email information is secure. The strong passphrase. So a passphrase is not just a password that might be 8 or 10 characters long with some numbers and special characters. It's much longer. The longer your password is, the better it is, and the less likely that it will be cracked easily. So if I put, I wish I lived in the Bahamas, and the I's are ones and the A's are the @ signs and the S's are the $signs, that's a much longer password, and I would actually remember it more. And then if you just add a little something extra for each of the sites, so maybe for your social media, you add a different word on the end as you do for your online banking or your financial. But again, the longer, the stronger, the better. You want to make sure that you set up alerts. So card alerts, online banking alerts, these are all alerts that you can typically get from your online banking, and you can set them up so that every time that you log on to your online banking, you get a text message. I know every time I log on, as soon as I log on, my text just pops off and say, oh, yeah, that's me. But you want to make sure that if you get a text and you didn't log on, that you want to jump on that. You can do card alerts or account alerts, anything over a certain dollar amount maybe you want to know about. Maybe you want to know if you've had any NSF, insufficient funds. Maybe you want to know about if any information gets changed, especially phone information, any kind of email information, things like that. Again, you want to make sure that you keep your email or your phone, if you're using your texting, keep them up to date for alerts as well. So if you've changed any information, make sure that that gets updated at all the places that you're getting these alerts from. Adding a phone password, so that's, as we talked about earlier, a verbal password with your banks, your credit unions, with your credit card company. So again, you can get validated in a way that a fraudster wouldn't know that information. It's not information that's out on the credit bureaus. And then setting up multi-factor authentication. So this would be anytime that you change, so let's say that you do change your password, you want to have a code that is being sent to your phone or your email that you then have to enter before that password can be changed or before other changes are made. So anytime that you either see it's multi-factor authentication or it's called 2FA or anything like that, take advantage of it because it definitely will help prevent some of this. Placing credit freezes, I cannot say enough how important a credit freeze can be for you. I have credit freezes on all of my bureaus here. And so what that does is you can get credit monitoring, absolutely. That's the bare minimum. You want to have some way to monitor and know if somebody has looked at your credit or pulled your credit or using your credit. But a credit freeze, rather than monitoring and telling you after the fact that something has happened, the credit freeze will actually stop it from happening. So I know at St. Mary's, we cannot open up a checking account for you. We can't open up a loan for you if you've got a credit freeze on there, because we have to actually have you release that freeze, which you would do with a PIN number or with private information once you've set up the freeze. So if you do nothing else, setting up a credit freeze will really prevent your information from being misused. It does cause a little bit of delay if you do want to actually go and apply for a credit card or you want to get a loan. But really, if you know that you're going and you're going to be applying for a car loan, it's within hours. It's actually, I think, within about an hour that you can unfreeze or thaw your credit, and then it just freezes right back up again. So definitely is definitely recommended. So who do you report to when you've had fraud? Here's a list of, so for the National Center for Disaster Fraud, so this is with COVID-19. If you have any kind of COVID-19 scams, you can call or email. Phone complaints, so the FCC, if you're getting calls with scams, you can certainly complain to them as well. Online scams, so IC3 is actually 3 law enforcement agencies that actually capture all of these scams and then try to see trends and see if there's common features so that they can help prevent it, as well as educate consumers. Charities. So you can check charities at charitynavigator.org. What I also should have put on here is Better Business Bureau, so bbb.org. These are actually, I know bbb.org is on our security center, but or just a simple Google. If you just Google the charity name, typically the fraud will float right to the top when you do a simple Google search. But bbb.org, for whether it's a charity, whether it's something that you're thinking about buying online, I'm constantly telling my husband, just check bbb.org before you do anything with any new company. And see if there's any complaints. Again, all of the complaints, and if they're rated F, they're going to float right to the top. And then any COVID information really should be getting from cdc.gov, or your local news, or CNN, or any of the I guess what I would consider legitimate sites. But don't trust what you're seeing on Facebook or what you're seeing on some other sites. And of course, we're always here to help as well. So anytime that you have any questions, whether it's scam related, whether it's just, hey, my neighbor has heard about this, does that sound right? Just give us a call, and we'll certainly do our best to answer your questions. And remember, the basics. Routinely review your statements and your credit reports. And again, if you have monitoring, you'll be able to see what's going on with your credit reports. If you have a freeze, even better. But your statements, whether it's checking account statements, whether it's your credit card statements, and pay attention to the small dollars or the penny transactions, because even though, yeah, it's only a two cents, I'm not going to worry about it. If you didn't authorize it, that could be the beginning of something bigger. It could just be test transactions. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to your statements, whether it's online, you're looking at them online, or whether you're actually pulling your statements. You want to make sure that you keep your devices updated. And when I say devices, it's really anything that connects to the internet. So whether it's your phone, whether it's your laptop, it's your PC, even your devices in your home, you want to make sure that they stay updated so that they don't get misused, that they don't become vulnerable, so that the fraudsters can take over them. You want to make sure that you encrypt and back up important files, mainly encrypting so that people can't get, if anyone does get access to your phone or to your laptop or PC, that they're not going to see things that they shouldn't see, but backing up so that if you do get any kind of virus, or you do get any kind of malware that wipes things out, you want to make sure that you can still get access to the important files that you need to. And again, just to reinforce, to never, ever, ever give out your online banking credentials to anyone who is not joint on your account. And honestly, anyone who's joint on your account should have their own online banking credentials. And also never give out a password or a phone code if you did not initiate the call to a company or a place that you know for sure it really is that company or that place. And we do have our security center online. We update information there. If you want to sign up for fraud alerts, you can get fraud alerts. We have some top 10 do's and don'ts, but pretty much updated information is there, and we'll keep it relevant. So hopefully that will be helpful as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shirley. Great information. And folks on the line, after the webinar ends, you will be directed to the Security Center, so you'll be taken there if you want to bookmark those pages. Shirley, just a couple of questions come to mind. You mentioned the importance of a verbal passcode for the telephone. How would I add that to my St. Mary's accounts?
So you can, you definitely can call in. We're going to ask you all kinds of information though to make sure that it really is you. So we're probably going to ask you the same things that you would typically expect: your mother's maiden name, your social, all of that. But we are also going to ask you for information that maybe is a little more relevant to your account. So transactional history, so that we really know it's you. We may actually check to make sure that the phone that you're calling in from is a phone number that's on file. So we will take it by phone. but just be prepared that we will ask a lot of information. Or you can, I'm not sure as far as going through Drive Up at this point. Probably the best thing would be to give us a call.
Give it a call
Yeah.
at this time. Yeah, very good. Shirley, one thing that came to mind as we were talking.
And before, just to jump into an even more secure way, if you've got online banking already, you can send us a secure message and do it that way as well.
Of course, yep, that's a great path there for messaging. And another thing you had mentioned that we can do in online banking is set up some of those card alerts. And I just want to mention that next month we are planning on an online banking tutorial, and card alerts will be a topic covered there. Shirley, I just wanted to ask you a question about kind of Venmo, Zelle. Are you seeing any fraud in the person-to-person payment area? Is that something that you can feel comfortable signing up for? Or do you have any kind of recommendations if you're just getting started there?
Well, I will tell you that I use Venmo, and Venmo and Zelle and all of them have come a long way in that they are really making sure that you know who you're sending to. So you just have to really be sure that the email or the phone number that you're sending to is a person that you truly know, because once that money is gone, it's gone. Because you are authorizing it. So yes, it's absolutely a great way to get money. It's basically how I pay my hairdresser every time I go. But you want to make sure that you have the right information. They've gotten much better when you set up someone new. They really validate, and I think now even when you set it up, they're asking you for their cell phone number that is associated with Venmo. So they're doing a lot more double checks. So no, the fraud that we really are seeing more is the online banking, and then they're using online banking to then do the person-to-person transfers. So they're taking over maybe an online banking account at Bank of America, and then they're taking over an online banking account at St. Mary's, and they're having money moved from one to the other. And then moving the money out. So it really is making sure that you keep your online banking credentials secured. But again, any of those Venmo or person-to-person or immediate transfers, just make sure you know, A, who you're sending money to, and B, that it's not someone new that's scamming you.
Very
Because
good.
again,
So
once the money's gone, it's gone.
yeah, the same rules apply to these new
Yeah.
ways to send money. Very good. Just wanted to also call your attention, folks, to an email we sent out yesterday, just our member news. And we had included in there information on free credit reports every week from the FTC, had posted a blog article at annualcreditreport.com. It's a good resource. You can access those links in your email. Again, that member news went out yesterday. And as Shirley mentioned, any of your emails that are going to come from St. Mary's Bank, from St. Mary's Bank Marketing, are going to include that anti-phishing code at the bottom of your email. So you can verify that code and be sure that you are clicking on safe links and gathering current and correct information. So on that, I don't see any other questions that have come through. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's a beautiful evening, so hopefully you'll have time to get back out there and enjoy the rest of the evening. We will make this version of the presentation. It will be available to view on the Security Center. We'll have a video link there as early as next week. And stay tuned to your email for future presentations like this from St. Mary's Bank. So thank you so much, Shirley, for your time this evening. I really appreciated the information and enjoyed hosting this webinar with you.
Thank you so much, Ian.
All right, take care, everyone.